Say yes every day to the world and to your heart. Open up your eyes and let your spirit start. Say yes to the dreams you hold inside. Let your soul be your guide.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Wednesday Wisdom. Today, we are joined with the fabulous Jessica Coen. She is the branch manager and a loan officer at U.S. Mortgage. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for sharing your wisdom and insights with all of us. How this works is we break it down of something from the past, what we're doing in the present, and then your future advice. So our first question is, please share with us, what was the best advice that you have ever received? And please also share, who was it that gave you that advice?
Thank you, Laura. Good to see you. And thank you for having me. I think the best advice that I ever had, I have wonderful people in my life, but my grandfather, since I was a little kid, he was always telling me to become something of myself. Education was so important. This was back in Puerto Rico, and I think about him so much because I always said that he was such a progressive man for the time. We are talking, I was born in 76, so we are talking 80s. And he always was telling me, become something of yourself. Education was so important. Be someone that you're proud of. And that was his sermon to me, to my mom, to everybody all the time. And he led by example. And I think he was that person that really, really put that fire on me. Sometimes I wonder, he saw the fire on me and he kind of like expand on it. But yeah, it has to be my grandfather.
Oh, I'm just smiling inside and outside because when I hear stories like that, I really just think to myself, number one, the gift of our elders, that the imprint, right? The imprint that they make on us, both from a biological standpoint of the DNA that's inside of us, and from an emotional standpoint of someone believing in us. And you said something so important. You said, maybe he saw something inside of me. And you know what, Jessica, that is so valuable as a lesson, as a whole, of all of us, that when we see something special inside other people, a lot of times we don't see it in ourselves first. It's someone else that says, hey, you're really good at this, or you light up the room when you speak about this, or your passion for helping others, or when you play the piano, or when you do your art, or whatever it is, right? And your grandfather kind of took that gift and planted it inside of you. And then all these years now, you've been kind of had that in the back of your mind of, how do I keep doing that, right? Not just the education, not just serving these families, to every day thinking of how you're doing that. And that leads me to my next question. So now that, your grandfather gave you this gift, it's something that lives inside of you. So now, how are you taking that and applying that right now in the things that you're doing personally and professionally?
So I keep them very present, both of them, my grandfather and my grandmother, because they work hand in hand. They have business. They have to reinvent themselves so many times. And they never had the fanciest bar or the fanciest supermarket, but they had a loyal clientele. And I try to apply that to my business. I'm like, what they used to do to have people be so loyal to them. And I think it was that warm, and people used to feel comfortable coming to, they have supermarkets, and then when big chains came in, they kind of pivot into bars, right? So everybody that will come to that bar, it was coming home. And they felt we have a big base of military people that were like regulars there. So I try to adapt those concepts to the mortgage business. Like, if you come to my office, I want my office to be that place where you can feel comfortable, where you can tell me everything about what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. I want to learn about your family, and I want to be part of that process, hand by hand. And I think that I saw on them, and how to evolve, how to pivot through markets to conditions, because the market has changed, the world is changing. One thing that I see is how they evolve. So big markets, big supermarkets came in town, so we're not going to be a supermarket anymore. Now we're going to be a bar, and we're going to serve food. And how they never gave up. They never gave up. They keep pushing, and they raise us. And I hope that if there's an afterlife, they are proud.
I'm pretty confident that they are there watching above and celebrating, saying, look at what she learned and is now carrying on. And you do an amazing job of that, Jessica. You are very endearing and caring, to where you connect with your community and the people that you serve. I mean, you can almost feel it from you, so you are carrying it on, and you are bringing it into the present time. So your grandparents absolutely are glowing, in this moment and in all the moments that you're serving, because it's so interesting that what you just said is pretty much the secret of business. Two things. One, adaptability. Things are going to evolve. Matter of fact, I'll tell you something I saw this morning that my mind was blown. I was watching a television commercial with the news on this morning, and there was a commercial from Amazon Telehealth. Amazon is now doing over the telephone virtual online health, where you can go if you have a cold or whatever. And so I'm looking at this going, you've got to be kidding me, that Amazon that started with selling books in 1990s, and then of course everything it's evolved, is now pivoting and adapting and modifying into telehealth, right? That's almost like the epitome of this adapting, right? We all have to continue to adapt and change, because to your point, if the big supermarket chains come in, we can't sit there and just wait to go out of business. We have to pivot and modify and see what we can do to adapt to the current market. And secondly, that down home coming in and being personal, we all know that in the mortgage industry, it's scary to expose. You're opening up your bank statements, you're opening up your income, you're opening up your credit, you're opening up your life, how many times you've been divorced, your name changing, your kids, everything is exposed and vulnerable. You feel very embarrassed of some of the decisions that might have happened in your life sometimes, right? But if you're sitting with a friend, or you're home, you're somewhere where you feel comfortable, well, then you don't have to have those mixed emotions. You can know that you're not judging, that you're there to be a guide, an advisor, a professional. The same as if you went to the doctor and you say, yeah, maybe I'm eating too many sweets, or maybe I'm not exercising as much as I should, right? The same type of thing. You absolutely take that time to make people feel comfortable. And it really, like I said, adapting and that personal touch are two of the things that we all can do, every one of us, regardless of how long we've been in the mortgage industry, regardless of where our businesses are, what area of the country. It doesn't matter, because that care, concern, and adaptability, we all have that power. So, oh my God, I love this advice. You are so blessed to have had that guidance in your life. All right. So now we get Jessica's guidance. Okay. So you've been trained, you've had these guides in your own personal life that have taught you these lessons. Now we would love to hear Jessica's wisdom. What piece of advice would you like to share with all of us that has been something that you live by?
Never lose the sense of wonder. I think when we stop learning, when we can learn from everybody, either the good, the bad, and take the good and adjust it to your reality. I say keep your mind open, keep your heart open to opportunities, keep learning, because the world evolves. The world is evolving at a fast pace. I can even learn from my 16-year-old kid. He has given me great lessons. So
those kids give us wonderful lessons, that's for sure.
So that's what I will say. And let go of perfection. Let go of perfection. Be gracious with yourself. Give some grace. If you make a mistake, just acknowledge that mistake. Give yourself some grace, because at the end of the day, you are still human. But never stop learning. Never lose that sense of wonder. And I think that's why every opportunity that you're presented with, take it. What can happen?
I was on a meeting yesterday, and we were actually sharing our word for 2024. And one of the women that was on the meeting, she said, if not now, then when? Mm-hmm. Like she said, that's her philosophy and mantra for 24. And I said, wow, think about that, right? Like to your point, right? Like stay curious, take those opportunities. And if not now, then when? Like, why put it off, right? Why not ask that next question? Why not say, I'd love to have a seat in the room. I mean, you and I, we attended the mastermind up at Christine Beckwith's gracious. She opened up her home to us, where we were doing a planning and strategy session back in December. And listen, we all could have come up with lots of reasons why we couldn't take a trip to New Hampshire in December, right? We all could have come up with those reasons. But we said yes to that opportunity to have a seat at the table. And I know for myself, and I'm sure you would agree, that we got a lot of value and a lot of bonding and a lot of inspiration and a lot of planning and strategy ideas. But we all have a choice. We can say next time. We can say, no, I don't have the time to learn that, or I don't have the time to fit that in. Or we can say, if not now, then when? Jessica,
that's right.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights, your wisdom, and for all that you do for your clients, for the industry, and all of us. You are sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, you are a bright light. So just keep shining and keep making a difference in the world, because you're making a very positive world.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.